Hello, hello, hello. How are you guys doing this evening? Well, it is currently, let's see, 10:28 p.m. on Tuesday evening, and it is muggy as all get out in Indianapolis. There were a few comments yesterday on my vlog, just a few. Well, the vlog hasn't really been up that long. It's been up for like 4 hours, I think. But there were a few comments from people saying that they couldn't see or that it was like out of focus or whatever. So let me explain to you guys what has happened. So it's like, it feels very damp in Indianapolis with humidity. That's like what it feels like. It feels like there's just dampness in the air. So like the windows and the door and stuff, the glass door are all like fogged up because of the air conditioning inside and condensation and all of that and the humidity. And so when I bring my camera from inside, it's like very cold. So the camera's been inside for hours, right? And then I bring it outside and the lens immediately fogs up. So I think that's what happened last night. I waited a while and tried to keep on cleaning the lens off. Tonight, I waited much longer and just kept on cleaning the lens and cleaning the lens and cleaning the lens until it looks to me, here, you can see, okay, here's my reading glasses. Do you see that I just got them from inside. They're like all fogged up. So I'll just let them sit here for a second and eventually it'll go away. But I can't really see like if it's gone or if it's not gone, but whatever. I'm gonna do my best. And I just got home from my meeting about a half an hour ago. I was laying in bed with Alex and Boo, and they were getting ready to go to bed. Boo Radley was already asleep and in bed on my pillow. I put it up on my Instagram story. He was being so sweet, and I was giving him little kisses on his face and on his nose, and he was being so sweet. But I went to my meeting tonight, and then afterwards we stopped and got fountain pops, and was really excited. I had a good time with my friends tonight. So my friend picked me up, and she had already picked up another one of our friends on the way. And then we went and picked up Tanya Jean. And then the four of us went to our meeting. And then we stood outside afterwards and talked to people and, you know, just friends of ours and things like that. Then we went and got the fountain pops. Well, my two friends, Tanya and I got fountain pops. And then our two friends got milkshakes. I think it's the Get Go. They swear by these Get Go milkshakes that you can get. There's like a milkshake machine in there. So they were all excited about it. And we were like teenagers standing outside the gas station drinking our fountain pops and just talking and stuff like that. So we had a really good time. And then dropped Tanya off. And then my friend had to pick up her son, so she picked him up, and then we drove here and they dropped me off, and then they were going home. So we had a great night tonight, and it's just always really nice to get out of the house and get to see people and be with my friends and things like that. So and it's still kind of early for me. It's 10:30. I do not want to take a nap. And by take a nap, I mean go to bed at like 10:30 to 12 and then get up and watch TV shows tonight, because I have been staying up so late, you guys, watching TV shows. And I just don't want to do that. Like, I wanted to get up today and I wanted to lay out a little bit and get some sun. And by the time that I got up and I started getting stuff done, I was like, well, it's kind of late in the day and I got to be ready for the meeting. So I just want to make videos today. And I filmed 4 videos. I already have my vlog video from last night, so it was like uploaded and ready to go today. But then I did a drama video, and then I did a Peter Does Stuff video. I made little sandwiches, which I'm kind of getting a little hungry, because that was all I had for like my lunch and dinner today, were these 2 little sandwiches and a little side of potato salad and some mango slices. And I had a glass of lemonade too. So I think I'm gonna go make maybe 2 or 3 more sandwiches. I have some pasta salad that I got from Fresh Time in there, this capellini pasta salad. So I think I'm gonna eat that with that. Although I didn't love this pasta salad that I got from Fresh Time. So I think I'm gonna eat that, and with some mango slices. And then I also got, I don't love Fritos, but they're like the spiral Fritos that are honey. They didn't have any of the potato chips that I like. They didn't have the brand of the sour cream and onion that I like. And I didn't want to get a huge bag with Lay's dip, because I knew that I'd just sit here and eat the whole thing tonight. So I just got the twists, I think is what they're called. They're like the Frito-Lay twists, and they're like honey mustard or something like that. So I got those, and I'm going to eat those with, I really wanted chocolate tonight too. But I was like, okay, you have some extra ice cream in the freezer, so you can just eat that if you are really craving something sweet. So I didn't go to town at the grocery or at the gas station and buy a bunch of crap that I didn't need, because I'll eat it if it's here. So I'm gonna vlog, and then I'm gonna watch an episode or two of First Kill, which I started last night on Netflix. I'm really liking it. I don't know where I was watching it last night when I vlogged, but I ended up watching like an episode and a half after that, and the story is developing very interestingly to me. I mean, it's about vampires and hunters, and it's a teenage show, so it's not super deep or anything like that. But like on the heels of watching all these documentaries, it was kind of nice to, it's been kind of nice to watch a show that's not like super deep, you know? So anyway, I now feel like the thing about Pam, but Tanya and I were talking about that tonight, that show. But I feel like the thing about Pam with my fountain pop, if you've seen the show, you'll know what I'm talking about, because she gets like, carries like a fountain pop through the whole thing. So people always ask me this, like, what is a fountain pop? So this is a fountain pop, and what you do is you go into a gas station. You can get it at fast food places and stuff too, or wherever, but you go into a gas station and you get the cup, and there's like 4 different sizes. There's like a jumbo cup, which is what Tanya always gets, and then this is considered, I think, like a large or an extra large. Yeah, this is a large. And then you get your ice, and you either have crushed ice, which is like the really small little pieces of ice, or just regular ice cubes. I used to use crushed ice, but now I use just the ice cubes. And I love a styrofoam cup because, well, it should be recycled, first of all, but it doesn't sweat. So, like, it doesn't sweat as bad. I mean, it's still sweating in the heat, but it doesn't sweat as bad as, like, the plastic cups. And by sweating, what I mean is that it gets, like, the condensation, and then it, like, you know, it just is, you know what I'm saying. So anyway, and then you hold it underneath this thing, and you, like, push the thing, and then, like, the fountain of pop comes into it. So we call them fountain pops. See, like, it drips into there. Now, like, on the thing about Pam, she puts pumps of flavor in there, so you can do like cherry, peach, I don't even know. I was gonna say mint. I don't even know what all the flavors are that you can put on there, but let me pull this up a little closer. Ooh. But Dory. Alex and I get laughing so hard. One night I was watching the movie Finding Dory on the Disney Channel, and like, that's my favorite thing, is when her friend like calls for her and she goes, Dory. I love that so much. So anyway, I never made it to laying out today, and it was a beautiful day. It was like, it was supposed to be cloudy, most like cloudy, sunny, but like with periods mostly of sun, and there really wasn't any clouds out in the sky at all today. It was really pretty beautiful. So I should have made it out in the sun today. Watered my plants last night. Watered them. I don't know, I should see how they're doing. Let me see. Oh, they could be used, they could be watered again tonight. Maybe I'll water them again tonight. You know, when it's so hot outside, the plants typically need to be watered on a daily basis. They're still doing really well though. So I need to water those tonight as well. I usually water, like, that's the last thing I do before I go to bed at night, is that I water the plants. I was coming home from somewhere, I can't remember where I was, and they were watering the lawns at night, like in our neighborhood, out right before you get into our neighborhood. I think it was when I was going to my meeting with my friend last week, and I said something about it, and she said, well, that's supposedly the best time to water your yard is at night. And I do know that people water their plants and they water their lawns and stuff at night, because they say that it's the best time to water it. We still don't have tons of weeds in our walkway, but we have a few that need to be picked. I might try to get down and do those. I mean, I don't have that many that it would like really cause me that much pain to get down there, but I might try to do that tonight. Did my hair today, well tonight, instead of wearing a hat. I thought, well, you get your hair cut, so you might as well. Might as well do your hair every once in a blue moon, right? And I actually posted a picture on Instagram. I haven't posted a picture over there in forever. And yeah, I posted it Let's see if you can see it on here. It was just like me. You can't really see it, but it was me. Like I did a little, you know how I prune, one of those pictures. But anyway, posted that today on Instagram. It's been a good day. It's been kind of just a lazy day. The thing is, like, I want to get up earlier so that I can be outside and enjoy the day. But at the same time, I so just enjoy staying up and like watching shows. And the thing is that like today it was so incredibly hot outside. When I was waiting for my friends to come pick me up, I had just taken a shower and put on cologne and deodorant, and I was sitting out here, you know, like in clean clothes, and I was like sweating bullets, and I was like, I don't want to be completely sweaty when my friends come and pick me up, but like I wanted to sit outside at the same time because it was so pretty. Right now it is so hot, you guys, outside. I don't even know, like, let's look. It'll probably say it's 70 something, but it feels like it's like 85 or something. Let's see how warm it is right now. Oh, it says it's 83. Feels like 93 with humidity. Interesting. And then tomorrow it's supposed to be 97, completely sunny. Sunny, record high temperatures expected. And then Thursday it's supposed to be partly cloudy, high 94. And then Friday, 88, sunny skies. Saturday, 82, sunny. Sunday, few passing clouds, otherwise generally sunny, high around 85. I mean, we're supposed to have like beautiful weather for the next whatever. Monday, mostly sunny, high 94. Tuesday, 99, sunny. Wednesday, 97. They don't have my birthday on here, but they have the day before my birthday. And it's supposed to be 89 and mostly sunny skies. So the next 2 weeks are going to be really rather nice, and very hot though, very, very hot. So this is kind of the way that I remember summer being when I was a kid, like unbelievably hot. You have to watch with the little puppy dogs too, because like, you know, they're not conscious of the heat really. And so like Boo Radley will wander around and run in the yard for as long as I'd let him. And I try to only let him be outside for like 5 minutes or so and then bring him inside, make sure he gets some water, because I don't want him to get dehydrated. And the heat is just really a lot for little dogs, you know. Well, for any dogs, but for dogs, it's just, it can be a lot. So got to make sure that you're, you know, checking on your pups in this heat. But another beautiful night, clear skies. Tonight, I think, is the night of the supermoon, right? Because that's what I read last night, but I don't see it. Like the moon, well, usually it passes between like 1 and 3. It passes by here somewhere along there, and so it's still early. So I haven't seen it pass by yet, but my meeting was good. I was talking to a friend of mine afterwards. We were talking about the idea of acceptance in recovery, you know, and I was always taught about this passage that it says, acceptance is the answer to all of my problems today. And it was interesting because we were talking, and he said, to me, I don't have to accept those things that are unacceptable. And it really had this profound effect on me. You know, and it's interesting, I was talking about recovery at length last night. It's interesting when, in 27 plus years of sobriety, there have been many things that people have said to me that have had a profound effect on me, or I've really gone, wow, like complete paradigm shift, like shift of perspective, you know? And tonight was one of those things, because I've never really thought about it that way, you know? Like the Serenity Prayer says, God help me to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And so accepting the things I cannot change is, to some degree, accepting those things that are unacceptable, right? But I love seeing planes fly over. I always wonder where they're going or if they're coming home, you know? I play it out in my head. I'm like, are they getting their bags together because they're getting ready to land? And are they going off somewhere or what's going on? But anyway, I think it's interesting when you look at those things in your life that are unacceptable, right? Whatever those may be. And those are usually more like deeply seated things, you know, from maybe childhood trauma or in relationships or whatnot. And you're taught that the way out of it is by accepting that this idea that nothing happens in God's world by mistake and that there's purpose and meaning to be found from that. I struggle with that today. You know, I really do. There was a long period of my life when I was like, if things, I've talked about it on here at length, you know, it's like, if things, I go back and forth with it. If there is no meaning to the things that happened, can we find meaning in them, right? It's like, it kind of goes back to my core belief of a higher power. When people in my life who are atheists or agnostics, which is interesting because my husband is an atheist and we've like, he's never challenged my beliefs and I've never challenged his, right? And I do think that atheism is a belief system, I do. And I respect it. I respect his beliefs behind that, you know? But I've had people in my life that have wanted to challenge me on that, or why it works for me, or why it's in my life, right? And like, for me, the way that it works is, if I get to the end of my life, right? And my relationship with my higher power has not condemned anybody. It hasn't caused harm, and it has only been as a strength building thing for me, or I have found some meaning or some purpose in my life by having a spiritual foundation. If I get to the end of my life and I'm gone and I wouldn't even know, right? That if there's nothing after this, if there's no higher power, there's no afterlife, there's nothing. First of all, I wouldn't even know that, right? Second of all, this is just how I think about it in application to my life. Because I am not anyone who wants to stand in the way of somebody else's belief unless it's of harm to other people. Or their lack thereof of belief, you know? And I think how we get there and whatever. Because if anybody had said to me, you have to believe this, or you have to believe that, or you're ignorant for not believing this, or whatever, that would have stood in the way of my spiritual journey. That is very personal to me. Still is. I talk about it in my videos, but I don't go into talking about it at length to how personal it really is, from how much I lean on it, right? If I get to the end of my life and there is nothing after this and there's no higher power and there never has been or whatever, what I've always thought, like, what have I lost by trying to find some understanding, comprehension, or meaning to the things that have happened in my life? Not to come up and make fake meaning or fake comprehension about it, but to really look at it and say, somebody's texting me, to say, my friend texted me, she said everyone is safe and home. But to look at things in my life and say, okay, these things that have happened to me in my life or in my childhood or whatever, like, maybe they have made me the person that I am today, or maybe they existed so that I could turn my wounds into wisdom and pass my story on to other people, and maybe they can gain something from it, or maybe there's something positive that can be gained, you know? But I think, like, what was interesting to me tonight, hearing that statement, that I don't have to accept the unacceptable, is I think that there's been a lot of things in my life, you know, to really, like, I would say when I first got sober, like, I really struggled with this. Looks like there's somebody standing over there. It looks like I can see a shadow or something. Nope. especially when I first got sober, like, I didn't really have any spiritual foundation for, I would say, the first 2 years of my sobriety. In fact, I can remember talking to my sponsor and being like I really was like, okay, I have to have this fundamental idea. For me to believe in a higher power, like, I have to have a fundamental idea and core concept of what that higher power is about. And I've never found that in the rooms of churches. I've never found that in temples or other places. For me, it's, I remember that this woman said to me in early sobriety, take what you like and leave the rest. And like, that went against everything that I had ever heard about any kind of spiritual belief, that you just come up with this idea of what it means to you. But that was ultimately what really worked for me, right? Was that I started, so anyway, at that time, I was really struggling. And it's one of our steps in sobriety that came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity is step 2. Step 3 is made a decision to turn my life and my will over to the care of God as I understood him. And what was really hard for me at that point was, how am I supposed to continue to go on through these steps? How am I supposed to turn my life and my will? Now, it's one thing to turn over your addiction, but to turn over your life and your will over to the care of a higher power that you don't even trust in yet. And so I was really stuck in steps 2 and 3. And my sponsor did all these wonderful things for me. He was like, like, if there was a tree in the forest, can you cut it down and move it on your own? And I was like, no. And he was like, but if you, pick it up and you cut it a little bit at a time and then you carry it over. I was like, well, sure, I can do that. And, he'd say, can you pick up this couch and carry this couch all on your own? And he's like, no. And he's like, but if you get help, you can do that, right? And he's like, higher power is just like help in those situations. And I still couldn't make sense of it, whatever. And so, like, I remember one time, there's a saying in our text, and it says that God either is or he isn't. And he was like, God either is or he isn't. I was like, he is, because I was like, okay, whatever, But I don't know that I really fully believed that yet. At 2 years sober, I started doing just this deep dive investigation into what my higher power was. And I remember my sponsor at the time said to me, what is your greatest fear? And I said, death. And he said, I want you to start by the way of spiritual texts, if that's religious text, whatever, to you, books. I want you to start researching this fear of death that you have. You guys, this is kind of funny when I get to it in a second, but I want you to start researching this fear of death that you have, and I want you to just start in your head or on paper or wherever, coming up with this idea of what your higher power would look like to you. If you could just come up with a higher power of your own, what would that look like to you? Because if somebody had said to me, you have to believe in what I believe in, I would not be sitting here today. I can tell you that, okay? And I didn't even have bad experiences with religion growing up. I mean, I have friends of mine that have had horrific experiences with religious organizations when they were growing up. I didn't have any of that. I grew up in a church. I grew up in a very liberal Lutheran church. Good experiences, went to Sunday school, got bored during the sermons when I went with my mom and dad. But like, I had good experiences in church. I can't look back at church and say that I felt condemned by the church, whatever. Like, I remember my mom was so proud because our church was one of the, our church doesn't exist anymore here. It was Our Redeemer Lutheran. And it was one of the very first churches. It was like stained glass and stuff. It was a beautiful church. It was one of the first churches in Indianapolis that did gay marriages. And my mom was really proud of that, And the very first church in Indianapolis that performed gay marriages was a church that she had grown up going to, which was St. Paul's Episcopalian. She was Episcopalian. My mom was Episcopalian growing up. So, like, her having some liberal beliefs within, and my mom was a woman of very strong faith. So my mom going to church, and those churches having some foundation in liberal beliefs was important to my mom, especially I think when it was applicable to her life, because I think she really struggled, if my mom was here and I said to her, did you, because she did have, I don't think she had necessarily a hard time with me being gay. I think she was afraid for me. I think she did struggle a little bit, not with understanding. I mean, she would say things to me like, I don't know how people know you're gay. You know, she said that up till the day, you know, not the day, but like when she was in the hospital last time. But not the last time when she was in a coma, but the time before that. But she would struggle, you know, and I really think she struggled religiously to some belief. That I think she struggled with the idea, not so much of, I'm getting way off topic, but anyway, so I think for her, if churches were understanding of what she believed in, then it made it easier for her, because she was like, see, the God I believe in believes in those things, you know? Anyway, but I can remember my sponsor saying to me, like, you need to find a book that starts you on the spiritual journey of you coming up with whatever your higher power is going to be. And so I did, and that was at about 2 years sober. And the first book that I read, because I had a fear of death, I wanted some visual of what the afterlife looked like. And so I found and read the book by Sylvia Browne, the psychic, called The Other Side and Back. And in that, she talks really about, now it has come out that Sylvia Browne is a horrible fraud, but the book at the time really resonated with me. And I have to say that a lot of the core beliefs that are in that book, like I still to this day, I believe in some of those beliefs. And she really talked about like what we do when we go the other side, and do we have jobs, and where do we live, and what does it look like, and things like that. And I've always really wanted there to be an afterlife. I believe in an afterlife, but would I be surprised if there wasn't one? No. But I believe in one. I like to think that there is one. I've had this dream several times, and I have this image of where my mom lives, and actually Pee-Pee and Tucker are both there. I've had dreams of them both being there at my mom's house. It's this house, I've talked about it on here before, by this lake, and it's an all-white house, white floorboards, doors just like open. There's no like doors anywhere, any locks or anything. Windows are just opened, but anyway, and sure, that could probably all be made up, right? But I hope it's not. So I read this book, and there were a lot of things in there that really resonated with me. Like, she talks about working with a spirit guide and soul groups. And so a soul group basically are like souls that we work with time and time and time again on all of these lives that we have relived. And the purpose of our life is to learn lessons. Once you have learned the lessons that you have set out, and you are the one that decide what lessons you're going to learn on before you ever come here. And once you have learned these lessons, then your life cycles are complete. And that we decide with our spirit guide and our soul group what parents we're going to be born to, you know, like where we're going to be born, how that's going to be, how it's going to play out in our life, like all the things that play out in our life, what's that going to look like? And that made so much sense to me. You know, the idea that maybe I was born to an alcoholic mother because there were certain lessons I was supposed to learn from that. Or maybe I was born an alcoholic addict, which I believe I was, because there were lessons I was supposed to learn from that or whatnot, right? The other thing that she talks about in there is exit points. And she talks about how we have so many exit points in our life, which are points that we can, like, near-death experiences where you can choose to, like, leave or not. And the other thing that she talked about in there was this blueprint for our lives. And this really, really resonated with me, which is when you have moments of, like, deja vu, which is where, you know, like, you're like, I feel like I've been here before, or something seems so familiar to you in your life that those are actually moments on your blueprint. You make a blueprint for your life of all of these things you want to learn, where you're going to go, whatever. And then we also have free will on top of that, right? But that there are these moments in our lives that seem so familiar to us, and that's when we are exactly where we're supposed to be on this blueprint for our lives. But the rest of it is free will, and we can make the choices that we want to make. And so I think what happened at that point was that it really, like, opened up my mind to being able to believe in things that maybe I wasn't before. I've been able to say that I was agnostic for a long time, that I wanted to believe in something. You know, people have like, you know, argued with me over the exact definition of agnosticism, so I'm not going to argue about that today. But for me, it was just always like, I believed in something, I just wasn't sure what that looked like for me. It's going to stop. Hold on a second. The problem for me was that, like, I could remember being in high school and I would hear these people that I went to high school with, like there was this big church here in Indianapolis, and it was Second Pres, and they had a really big youth program. It was called Footsteps or something like that, and all the kids would be in it like for 2 years, and they did a lot of social activities, and then like they would go and they would do the steps. I don't even know. Okay, like they went to Israel and did all this kind of stuff, and that was like the end part of it that they did like in their senior year. And I can remember these kids, like it was a huge part of it, and a lot of them were very, very popular in my school. And a lot of them would say things like, "Oh, Jesus Christ, your Lord," and stuff like that. Like they would say that like in class, like not like during a class discussion, but like I would just like in passing, I would hear them, you know, like, or they would say like, it's so funny because I look back on it and it's like things I say to my friends in recovery now, but like they would say something like, I don't know, I'm struggling with this, like I really like this guy, but I don't know if he likes me, and you know, whatever. And then somebody would say, well, you should pray on it. Like I would hear that, right? And I would roll my eyes and be like, that is such crap, right? Like that is such BS. Like they don't really believe that. Well, the issue is that I had never had any kind of internalization of spiritual belief, right? I had never had the spiritual axiom or the spiritual experience. I had never had a burning bush moment in my life. Never. Ever in my life where I'd had a moment where I felt like this is a God moment. Well, I can tell you, since I've been sober, I have had many, many God moments. Many moments where I am like, this is a God moment right here. Like, this is a God moment. For me, that's how I feel. So, I read that book, which I was devastated when it came out. So, I was actually watching this show, and she was reading it. She's like on Monn. She used to be on Montel all the time, Sylvia Brown. And this poor woman was in the audience, and she was like, Sylvia, my husband died and they've never found his body. And she goes, he's in Wada. He's in Wada, Montel. That's how she talked. And the woman's like, what? And she's like, he's in Wada. That's why they've never found him, you know. Sometimes they never find bodies when they're in water. And the woman was like, no, my husband was a firefighter in 9/11. And without like missing a beat, she was like, yeah, fire hoses. Like he was, like he died of like drowning. Like he's still in water. Like my ex and I were watching it. We used to watch it. We would tape it like every week. She was on like Wednesdays, and we'd get our fountain pops and watch it. And I can remember he and I both like turned to each other. And I was devastated. I was like, oh my God, this woman that I've like believed in so long, you know? For somebody that believes in like psychics so much, I get so devastated when I find out they're not true. Like Teresa Caputo, she's a fake. I sat in the audience. She's a total fake. If she's real, then she does it in private readings. But when she like, and then when they say things like it's so difficult to do a group reading, then don't do group readings, right? Like I saw her where she was like, is there a male figure over here? Uncle, brother, grandfather, husband, friend, and all these people are raising their hands. I was like, this is so ridiculous. Tyler Henry, he's a fake. I've had a few experiences in my life with psychics, probably because I'm looking for burning bushes, you know, that I feel are true. But if you have a psychic that you work with that really does fantastic readings, I would love to talk to a medium that is like spot on. But I've never met one to this day that like tells me things that like, I have a few things I've never shared publicly about my relationship with my mom. If I ever went to a medium and that person told me those things, I would be like, this person's the real deal. I have yet to have that happen. So from that book, I then started reading bits and pieces of other things. My mom loved the book The Way of the Pilgrim. I read a lot of biblical references. There's actually some fantastic books out there that are recovery-based Bibles that you can read, and like on one side it has like the passages from the New Testament, and on the other side it has like how they translate that into recovery. I read a lot of that in early sobriety. I read a lot about Native American wisdom. I read a lot about Kabbalism and Judaism, and I read about a lot of different religious beliefs, a lot of different spiritual beliefs. And what I found in common, the good that I found, was this common theme of love, compassion, kindness, understanding, and forgiveness. Put that together, call it what you want. Do I believe there's maybe some all-understanding, seeing force over that? Yes, I do. I really struggle believing when I watch the personalities or the souls of these little birds flying up and communicating to each other, or I watch Boo Radley and it's like he's communicating to me, and just to see stuff like that, I struggle with really believing. And hey, listen, I know it's science and nature, and I get all that, right? That spark to me, okay, that spark that I call soul is the God piece. And you don't have to believe that for me to believe that, right? Like, that took me a long time to get to that part. But that's the difference for me, is the spark. And that's not to say that I won't one day wake up and be like, I don't believe in anything. I could be convinced otherwise. I don't know. I stay open-minded today is what I try to do. And I think because my life has benefited so greatly from just my spiritual beliefs and what I've believed, I have friends of mine that are, sober, that don't believe in anything. That you can be agnostic, or I think it's a struggle to be an atheist and be sober. But do I know people that are? Yes, I do. I think it's a struggle for them. I've witnessed it being a struggle for them, and I think they would admit that too. But they're not at a place yet where, it was a journey for me, you guys. It was many, many years where I would sit in meetings and people would say stuff, and they'd be like, oh, this is a God moment. I'd be like, they are so full of crap. They are so full of crap. The woman that told me, take what you like and leave the rest, I was in this meeting. I was probably within my first 60 days sober. They were talking about God in the meeting. I got up, went to the back of the room, and I smoked a cigarette. And she came back, and I put out my hand to shake her hand, and she said, oh no, we hug at this meeting. And so she gave me a huge hug, and she said, why did you leave the meeting? It was like a cafeteria room. I can see it in my head. Actually, it was so funny because one of my friends just asked me the other day. He was like, did you used to go to this meeting? And I did, and it doesn't exist anymore. But and it was actually in a different program than I got sober in. And I got sober in a different program than I'm in today. And so I went to several programs when I got sober, and finally my sponsor was like, I just think it would be good for you to pick one. And so I picked the one that I was going to the most, and the one that, for me, like, I felt like had the foundation that I needed at that time. But I don't think there's anything greater or lesser about one 12-step program versus the other. I think if you're engaging in a 12-step program, great for you. And I just, follow what they say is that would be my suggestion, And I have really good friends of mine in all kinds of 12-step programs, not just ones to do with drugs and alcohol today, too. I have friends of mine in all kinds of, 12-step programs. So, but she came back and she said, why did you leave the meeting? Because I was just standing there smoking a cigarette, and the meeting was still going on, like probably 20 feet in front of me. Like, it was like this cafeteria, and they were all just sitting there at those long tables, and you could smoke at the tables. It was like, the smoke was like this high in the room. So anyway, she said, why did you leave the meeting? And I said, because I was tired of hearing all the God crap. Like, I don't want to be Bible thumped too. And she looked at me and she said, is that what you heard? And I said, yeah, because that's what they were talking about. And she said, take what you like and leave the rest. And that was such a powerful moment for me, to take what I liked and leave the rest, because I didn't know that was possible. I didn't know that I didn't have to accept the unacceptable. I didn't know that and I know that it comes across very much as like, we just pick and choose what we want, but there is some truth to that, it's interesting in talking about like God and being gay. And I'm sure this will turn some people off, but I'm very much of the belief that God really could give a rat's ass about somebody's sexuality. I really believe that. In fact, I believe that God made me the way that I am. And the reason I believe that is because as much as people want to get wrapped up in all of what being gay is, and the sexual aspect of it is really about 3%, maybe even that. It's really about who you're attracted to and loving that person, butterflies in your stomach, and sharing a life with them. I mean, that's really the truth, right? So why God would stand in the way of that, I don't know. The other thing is that I'm not a big believer that God, if there is one, puts people on this earth to live a life of complete misery and whatever. And so I just don't think I don't believe that. I don't believe it's that big. I don't even get into conversations with people about it. I really don't. A, because I'm not going to change their opinion, and B, because if they want to believe in that and that's what keeps them feeling safe at night, then believe it. Okay? As long as you're not acting on it and hurting me in any way, you believe what you need to believe. But I have said this, and I'll continue to say this. What I don't understand is people at the end of their lives that... Will you really look back at the end of your life and say, I'm really proud that I kept two people in love away from each other? You know, I mean, it was a very big reality for me that I was scared for a long time. Long time. I mean, just in the last 10 years, that if my boyfriend or husband was sick in the hospital, that I couldn't visit them, you know? My first boyfriend that I was with, like, after I got sober, he wasn't very close with his family. Like, I mean, he was close with them, like, he talked to them maybe, like, every third week or something like that, but, like, he wasn't very close with them. Like, he spent holidays with us, my family. We lived together, you know, on and on and on. To know that if they didn't want me to be in the picture and he ended up in the hospital for any reason whatsoever, that they could have swooped in and I would have been kept out. Like, that's a reality that I lived during that era. That is not something that did not happen. I know people that happened to. I witnessed people, you know, whose partners died and they weren't even able to be by them side. There's actually a fantastic, I can't remember the guy's name, but he's from Indiana, if you guys remember this, and he supposedly fell off the side of a building. The guy that died was from Indiana, because I know several people that knew him and went to high school with him and all this kind of stuff. And his partner did a video on YouTube. Do you guys know the guy that I'm talking about? I mean, that was just not too long ago. And he wasn't allowed to come to the funeral. He wasn't allowed to come to the memorial service. They came back and, like, just basically took all of his stuff. I mean, it was tragic. That happened not just too long ago, because I can remember watching that YouTube video and just broke my heart. There was actually this song on the video, and it's called Beautiful Boy. 1111, Make a Wish. The song, I have it actually downloaded. The song is called Beautiful Boy by Colleen McMahon. I should look on YouTube and see if it pulls this up. Colleen McMahon. Let's see if it pulls up this video. Colleen McMahon, Beautiful Boy official music video. I want to see what this video is called, if you guys can remember it. Keeps on pulling up. Hold on a second. At some point in our life, this is what the description box says. At some point in our lifetime, gay marriage won't be an issue, and everyone who stood against the civil right will look as outdated as George Wallace standing on the school steps, keeping James Hood from entering the University of Alabama because he was black. George Clooney. He said that. Oh, Bridegroom. That's what his name was. I think his name was Thomas Bridegroom, yeah. A little over 2 years ago, I lost one of my best friends in a tragic and sudden accident. His name was Tom Bridegroom. It was one of the most heartbreaking heartbreaking times in my life to this day. I still cannot believe he is gone. I am dedicating the song I wrote, entitled Beautiful Boy, to Tom and all of those who have lost someone close to them. I am humbled and honored that Tom's partner of 6 years and one of my best friends, Shane Brittany Crone, put my song Beautiful Boy in his award-winning documentary, Bridegroom. About Bridegroom. On May 7, 2011, Shane tragically lost the love of his life, Tom, to an accident. That was literally like 3 months before I got married. Because they weren't married or prepared for the unexpected, Shane lost all legal claim to Tom after he died. Tom's family banned Tom from the funeral and he was unable to say goodbye. On May 7th, 2012, Shane posted a video on YouTube entitled, It Could Happen to You. He created it to honor his partner and show the world what can happen when two people are legally barred from having equal rights and equal protections under the law to marry. You guys, it's just, if you watch it, it is so powerful. So go check that out. What did I say that it was called? I want to make sure that I get it right again. If you've never seen it, you should watch it. If I can pull it up again. It Could Happen to You. Okay, I had to go and get a battery to change the battery because the battery died while I was... Oh, is this in... I was like, is my fountain pop leaking? And it's in the leaking part of it? No. What was I saying? Oh, I was reading that part. And so anyway, so it stopped during all that. But no, you know, like, I feel so blessed because Alex and I both have families that are so incredibly loving and supporting of us. I mean, my mother-in-law, she's always like, whenever she comes in, she's like, oh, Peter, you're like my son. You're one of my sons. And, you know, my dad and my stepmom and my cousin have been so deeply accepting of Alex as well. And we just are blessed by that. And there's a lot of, you know, same-sex couples that experience exactly what we do, that have families that love them and accept them and see them as no different than anybody else. And unfortunately, there's a lot that don't have that experience. There's a lot that experience discrimination and alienation, and on a regular basis. Maybe they don't even have relationships with their families today, you know. So for them to have something happen to them and then have the family swoop in and be able I just can't even imagine, you know. And I can remember back in the day, just like, not with close friends of mine, but with people that I knew, like, just hearing horror stories. And I remember watching that movie years ago called If These Walls Could Talk. And if you've ever seen it, like, the first one is about a lesbian couple that have lived together for like the majority of their lives. And when the one partner dies, her family comes in and they basically won't let the other woman, like, take anything, like, and these are her things, right? And all she wants is like this little bird knickknack, I think, kind of thing. And like, the family won't even let her take it. It's like they're all just about like, this is mine and this is, you know, whatever. And you know, it's interesting being an only child, and like, I didn't have that, right? Like, I didn't grow up, well, I didn't, when my mom passed away, there was none of that. Like, what's yours is yours, what's mine is mine, kind of thing. And like, you know, like, why are you taking this from mom? And I never had that, you know, like, there was no arguments, you know, like, it was me alone. And I can remember, like, that was always something that I was, I don't know, like, really afraid of, like, in my youth. Not so much like my youth, but like my teen years and college and stuff, that like when one of my parents passed away, it would be me alone to deal with it. Well, obviously, like, you know, my stepmom or my dad or whatever, but, and my aunt was really by my side through the whole thing with my mom, but I was really afraid of that. And now I know so many people who it's like the constant arguing with like families and stuff. And so I feel so blessed, you know. I feel so incredibly blessed that I have the family that I do and I have the in-laws that I do. But, you know, it wasn't very long ago when you didn't know if you could trust that or not. How did I even get on this topic? I was talking about my spiritual beliefs, my higher power making me gay. Well, I don't know. I was born gay. That's how I feel. And that's a really deep topic. I don't know what I think about that, you know? I believe that I was born an alcoholic and an addict. I do believe that genetically. You know, my dad as a doctor has always believed that I was born gay. He truly believes it's like genetic makeup. Like, your eyes are blue, you were born gay, this is who you are. You know, and I think something that's very scientific, I think that's probably why it was so easy for him to be accepting of me. My dad has like never struggled with it, like at all, like literally at all, you know. He walked me down the aisle at my own wedding, and I just, you know, I feel so incredibly grateful for that. And I think the thing that's interesting about it too is that my dad wasn't like that just in 2022. My dad was like that in 1990 when I came out. He was accepting and loving at a time that it wasn't popular to be that way. And I think like that there's like the biggest ant crawling on this chair over here, and I just think that's phenomenal, you know. I just feel so blessed about that. And I don't know, I had a friend of mine back in the day that became very, very religious and stopped being my friend because I was gay. And on the phone, I'll never forget having this conversation, basically told me these levels of sin, right? And that being gay was really high up there on the hierarchy of like horrible sins. And I can remember calling my mom and being so devastated about it. And my mom was somebody that was so wise with situations like this. You know, and she would say, or she said to me at the time, she said, she's just afraid. She doesn't understand, you know, she's just afraid. And, you know, a lot of people hide behind religion because they don't understand. A lot of people look to religion and they look to God to tell them the answers that they can't come up with on their own. And she was like, so I was like, well, what am I supposed to do? And she was like, you're supposed to be understanding and be compassionate if you're a loving, kind person. She's like, you don't have to accept, you know, the unacceptable. You don't have to accept that she believes this or that she wants, you don't have to have her in your life, but to find it in your heart, to know that there's something that she's afraid of. And so she's living her life this way, and to be compassionate, you know. And it's like, I don't know, like, I just don't get into that argument. I really don't. Like, I have a lot of friends of mine who, their family members are, I wouldn't say I have a lot. I have maybe one or two whose family members struggle with me being gay or whatever, you know? And I'm always like, that's what other people believe. Like, that's their belief system, right? And although, like, it goes against what I believe, first of all, they're not nasty to me. They're super kind and nice and loving, right? They just don't believe that. I was just talking about this tonight with a friend of mine that I hadn't seen in forever, that we were talking, I don't even know how we got in the conversation. We're talking about it, and they were like, oh yeah, like, you know, like so-and-so believes that, you know, that it's, you know, man and woman until the end. If there's a lot of people that believe in that. You know? I don't know why you would make it your life mission to keep other people apart that are in love. Like, that doesn't make sense to me. But I do think that everybody has to go through their own spiritual journey. And I think that they have to find that at the end. I've just never really understood why. Like, okay, this is what's interesting to me. People very, very rarely anymore, like, will say, well, if you'd like to go to church with me, you know, more than welcome. But I can remember when I first met Melissa and Jason, our friends, and we were at their house, and it was like right after we met them for pizza or something like that. And it was like a Saturday night and whatever. And Melissa said something to us about the church that she went to. And she was like, do you guys ever go to church? And I was like, no, it's, and Alex is like, no, I'm an atheist. And so she was like, well, our church is super liberal. There's lots of gay couples that go there, whatever. They're really accepting. And if you ever want to go, just let me know. And you're more than welcome to go along with us. And I was like, that's really the first time I've ever been approached that way. That it's just like this open door. Like, if you have any interest, it's very liberal minded. You're not going to feel uncomfortable. More power to you, but I'm not going to push you. She has never once since that day ever asked me again or said, like, you should come with us sometime or whatever. She's never been pushy about it. And what's interesting to me with people, that they're always like, they're not always, but there's a lot of people out there that seem like that they have some kind of a religious agenda. And I'm like, that would be the way to get somebody to come into your church and listen to what you have to say if you really wanted them there, was to be that welcoming and loving, right? Because I don't know about you, but I have never been anybody that when I have had great judgment passed on me or been told that I am, going to be damned to hellfire and damnation, like, that doesn't make me want to go somewhere more. You know what I mean? And yet again, I think that affirms what my mom said, is that so many people, they seek that out because of fear. And I don't want that to be my story. I don't want to have a God moment or feel a spiritual experience out of pure fear, of which I have lived in fear much of my life, right? When I am feeling fear in my life today, I do go to God and my God. And I say, I trust that you have some kind of plan, because I don't know sometimes. I don't know, This vlog was very deep. This vlog was very deep and all over the place. If I lose a bunch of you as subscribers, I won't be surprised. But it's been very deep tonight, so I think I'm just gonna shut my mouth now. Well, I'm way ahead. I don't know. God, you guys are probably like, oh my God, Peter, what is going on? You're usually just talking about books and movies and you're all over the place tonight. What I want you guys to know is, as long as you come with a loving heart and mind, and you're not offensive to anybody, I want my vlog and I want this place to be a place for all, where you feel comfortable to be whoever you are over here, and know that I love you and I accept you, and and as long as we're not condemning anybody or hurting anybody over here, and we're just meeting each other with a loving heart, that's what I want this place to be, no matter where you come from, And I think also in life, to learn to approach people that we meet. This would be the greatest thing I've ever learned, whether it's spirituality or religion or recovery or just in my life, is to meet people where they're at. Not to change them, but to listen to their experience, strength, and hope. To listen to their story and go, is there anything that I can take from this? Is there anything that I might learn from this? Because I think that we have become a society that is so quick to tell other people that they're wrong, instead of really understanding not just why you believe or how you believe what you do, but in listening to other people and saying, how did you get there? What got you there that made you this way, or that you have this belief system, good, bad, indifferent, whatever, And maybe we can learn a little bit more about each other, and maybe we can learn a little bit more about the world, and that would be my hope. So anyway, that being said, I hope you guys are having a magically amazing Wednesday. 3 things to remember. Number 1, remember that you can start your day over whenever you want. Number 2, practice random acts of kindness. So easy. And just do it. And number 3, most importantly, make sure that you reach out to somebody and let them know, anybody, and let them know how much they mean to you. And I love you guys so much, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye. Love ya!